Hello Revolution students, and welcome back to another video on the Russian Revolution, area of study 1. In this video I'm going to look at Rasputin and how he contributed to the February 1917 revolution. So let us get into it. First off, he was known as the Mad Monk, and this was due to his drinking and reputed sexual exploits. He was even rumoured to have had an affair with the Tsarina and her daughters. These various characteristics, attributes of his, made him very unpopular with the Russian people. He had great influence over both the Tsar and Tsarina as a consequence of him being able to heal, or at least ease, the symptoms that their son Alexei suffered as a consequence of his haemophilia, which was a blood condition. It meant that your blood didn't clot properly, so it just kept bleeding, for example, if you got a cut. And this influence over the Tsar and Tsarina, great influence over the Tsar and Tsarina, undermined the Tsar's credibility as a leader, because the Tsar was seen as not being able to make his own decisions, and the fact that he would put his confidence in such a mad monk did not bode well for him or his character. Another contribution of Rasputin was that he ran the civilian government with the Tsarina from August 22nd, 1915, and that's when the Tsar appointed himself commander-in-chief of the military. So the Tsar had to go to the front as a consequence of taking up that position, and when he went to the front, he left Rasputin and the Tsarina in control of the civilian government. And Rasputin continued to have great control over the civilian government until his murder in December 1916. As a consequence of his control over the civilian government, he and the Tsarina started to appoint their lackeys, people who supported them, into positions of great power within the ministry. And this was called ministerial leapfrogging, because ministers were swapped and changed depending upon how the Tsarina and Rasputin felt. And an excellent example of this is that there were 4 prime ministers between 1915 and 1916. So it contributed to government instability, and it also contributed to the Tsar losing the support of both the aristocracy and the Duma. The Duma didn't like the fact that the government had become so unstable. The aristocracy didn't like the fact that Rasputin and the Tsarina were just appointing their favourites rather than appointing the best aristocrats into these positions based upon merit. And another contributing factor was that it was rumoured that Rasputin, along with the Tsarina, were sending military secrets to the Germans so that they could defeat the Russian military. And this just undermined the Tsar's authority even further. He did do some good things. So he reorganised the army's medical supply system, because the organisation within the army, the Russian army, was very, very poor, and it contributed to some of their defeats. So despite the fact that he reorganised the army's medical supply system and improved it, this did not in any way improve his standing within the eyes of the Russian people. There were lots of political cartoons created at this time which showed the unhealthy influence which Rasputin had over both the Tsar and the Tsarina, and I've included a few here on this slide. So you can see the top one there shows Rasputin holding the Tsarina in quite a provocative way, and that is an example of political pornography. And a consequence of political pornographic cartoons like this and the other political cartoons which showed Rasputin's great influence over the Tsar and Tsarina is that they desacralized the image of the Tsar. Remember that the Tsar was seen as being divinely appointed to his position, that he was God's representative on earth by many Russian people anyway. These cartoons contributed to desacralizing that image, taking away that image of divinity associated with the Tsar and making the Tsar appear as just a normal human being, no better nor worse than any other leader, and as a consequence being able to be replaced just like any other leader as well. That bottom image there you can see with Rasputin holding the Tsar and Tsarina on his lap like children, and he's like their father, also showing this unhealthy influence. I've just got a couple of images now. So the image in the top left is Rasputin with his piercing eyes, and then in the bottom right there you can see an image reputedly of Rasputin after his death in December 1916. Okay, let's have a look at a couple of historical interpretations now. The first one is from Richard Pipes, and he writes, Rasputin was a natural target of right-wing critics because of his influence on the imperial couple and through them on ministerial appointments, and that's an allusion to the ministerial leapfrogging that I was referring to before. Sturmer, Protopopov and Shuvayev, holders of the most important posts in the administration, owed their positions to him. Rasputin basked in his power. His drinking bouts, his boasting and insolence grew more scandalous each day. That such a charlatan had a hold on the monarchy offended the monarchists most of all, the aristocracy. And the second historical interpretation is from Orlando Fige, and he writes, it was widely claimed that the Tsarina and Rasputin were working for the Germans, that they had a direct line to Berlin, and that Nicholas regularly warned his uncle, the Kaiser Wilhelm, of the movements of his troops. So this is what I was referring to before about the rumour that the Tsarina and Rasputin were giving their military secrets to the Germans. The point of these rumours was not their truth or untruth, but their power to mobilise an angry public against the dynasty. In a revolutionary crisis, it is perceptions and beliefs that count rather than realities. A good point there by Orlando Fige. So anyway, there are a couple of historical interpretations about how Rasputin contributed to the February 1917 revolution. I hope you have found this video useful for your understanding of Russia, Area of Study 1, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.